everyone will be able to access it later, and I'm sure people will continue to join. So let's make sure recording is in process. Perfect. So everyone, welcome. My name is Jeanette Jackson. I'm CEO of Foresight. We're very excited to have you online today to talk about the perfect pitch. As we've been talking about over the last several weeks, there's no time like today to really be preparing yourself with the tools and tricks that you need to go out and engage customers and investors to raise capital for your ventures. And of course, if you're an executive in residence or an advisor or even an association that's supporting various SMEs that are working through that process, you're going to learn a lot today with our special guest. The agenda, to keep it very brief, I've already given my welcome notes. I've got two quick program announcements, and then we're going to pass it right over to Linda to carry forward with the webinar today. It'll be Diane Sam from the Foresight team who will be supporting Linda Plano through this process. And of course, she'll open it up for Q&A and lots of engagement, and then closing remarks from Diane. So the two main announcements that we wanted to talk about today are actually Foresight specific. If you haven't already seen online or by email through our newsletter, we have launched a specific water technology support program that gives you access to the Blue Tech Forum on June 4th. Also a different series of business, marketing, and technical support opportunities specific to Canadian clean tech, water tech SMEs. And of course, though there's limited spots for part of the program, if you just sign up and let us know what your needs are, we'll definitely help navigate to make sure that you have the resources, not only as we navigate this unprecedented time, but as we work to restart the economy and make sure that you're prepared for when things start to pick up. And then later this week, we will also be launching a new Clean Tech SME COVID-19 support program, which will be a series of webinars and engagement tools, kind of like what we're starting with today. In fact, Linda will be supporting some of that program later on. And so that will be launching May 29th. It's Pan-Canada support, both one-on-one group meetings and lots of other sessions. So that'll be something that can help you during this time as well. And a special shout out to NRC-IRAP for supporting these programs. It's my fault for not putting them front and center on a logo here, but we'll make sure you'll see their logo on the website. So thank you to the IRAP team. Without further ado, Linda is going to tell you a little bit about herself, but in terms of raising capital and giving the perfect pitch, she is someone that's very well known to support SMEs through this process. And so at this time, I'm going to pass it over to you, Linda. And if you do want to share a pitch, please raise your hand. There's going to be an opportunity for 1-minute pitches. Linda, over to you. And I will also make you the host so you can screen share.
Excellent. Thank you so much. While I try to, oh, there we go. There's my screen share button, except of course I need it to be mine, which is not either of those right now. There we go. That's you. So annoying. I don't want advanced sharing options.
Well, I'll stop sharing. Maybe that'll help.
I think that's probably going to help. Let me close that and, oh, for heaven's sake. Oh, I'm a host, so I get to do that. Okay, well, let's go ahead with only host. Why not? And why are you causing me problems here? I want to actually share my screen instead of keep getting the sharing options. Come on. Oh, maybe I need to say all panelists. Okay. I don't understand. I've done this in a million different Zoom meetings, and for some reason it just keeps giving me an error message.
Can you pick one of the screens to share? Does that help?
No, it's not giving me the option of picking a screen. It's only giving me advanced sharing options, which I keep giving it different options, and it's not letting me go with it. So I apologize. This is very spastic on my side. Let me try doing it from here. Nope. Oh, for the love of Pete.
Great. Let me, it's still giving me the option here. So let me try something quickly.
Oh, I have another button here. Okay, got it.
Awesome.
Okay, sorry about that. I've only done this about 500 times. But okay, we all learned something new in these days of coronavirus. Okay, everybody, I hope everyone can see my screen and it's not the presenter screen. Excellent. So thank you very much for the kind introduction, and special thanks to NRC-IRAP from my perspective as well, as I got an invitation by Jeanette via IRAP. Fantastic organization. Canadian companies are very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with them. Anyway, welcome to Perfect Pitch. My name is in fact Linda Plano, and I have the best job in the world because I get to work with smart, creative, and passionate people just like each of you and help you make your dreams come true. In fact, I've worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs over the last decade plus, and they've gone on to raise well over $1.3 billion. Today, we're going to go step by step through my tried and true process for translating your value proposition into a compelling pitch for investors, customers, partners, whoever it is you really want to engage with. And if you follow this process with integrity, vision, and hard work, you will have the best pitch for your business that you've ever had. And that is a promise. Okay, so I hope that sounds exciting. And in fact, I can make that kind of a big promise here because, well, let me show you my tagline here because it's tied directly into that. Life's a pitch, make yours amazing. And that's because whenever you ask somebody to do something they weren't already planning to do, you're actually pitching to them. So it doesn't matter if it's an investor or a customer or a partner or whomever. In fact, I have used the very same process that I'm going to show to you today to do pitches to all these different kinds of organizations, different contexts, different media, doesn't matter. Process always works. And make yours amazing is because when you pitch with integrity and vision and passion, you are far more likely to get buy-in from the audience that you're engaging, and that means they're more willing to invest their time, money, and other resources into your plans, and that means you're more likely to attain your vision and to achieve the life that you want. And so that's why life's a pitch. Okay, moving on. Now, you might wonder why we actually need yet another talk about how to do a pitch, because if you go online and even for free investor pitch templates, you're looking at millions and millions of opportunities. Well, I have this feeling, even though I'll use the word template here and there, I actually hate templates, okay? I don't, people are often asking, well, what's the best template of a, what's the best pitch you've ever seen so I can copy it? You got to tell your story and tell it in your way. You're not telling Airbnb's story. You're not telling Tesla's story. You're not telling anybody else's story. You're telling your story. But the important difference, the failure to connect that entrepreneurs often make is that they don't make it compelling to the specific audience. Every audience is going to engage for different reasons. And that's entirely what Perfect Pitch is about. Okay, that's me pre-COVID when I actually had highlights all the way to my roots. I have been a coach since 2005. I do work for the MIT Enterprise Forum, especially in Central Eastern Europe and in Greece. I've also done it in Thailand. And in particular, with respect to this group, I'm associated with a couple of accelerators every year for the last 8 years, 10 years, so a bunch of years now in Halifax at Bionova, the Canadian Technology Accelerator here in Boston, but even more so, Climate Kick in Europe, Clean Tech Open. I actually co-founded and used to run the precursor to the Clean Tech Open Northeast. And I was heavily involved with the Green Chemistry and Commerce Council's pitches to potential partners a couple of years ago. I got started launching the Ignite Clean Energy Business Competition. My passion remains there. I do a lot of life sciences and fintech and insurtech, all kinds of different techs, but my heart belongs to clean tech because that's where we can make the biggest difference. So I'm really honored to have this opportunity to talk to all of you today. I do have a very technical background. My PhD is in material science and engineering. My BS is in physics. I've been an entrepreneur since the 4th grade when I used to sell Moomintroll bookmarks and tote bags, handmade tote bags to my fellow 9-year-olds. But what I've come to realize over the years is that being an entrepreneur is not a job description. It is a mindset. An entrepreneur is someone who gets into a situation, looks around and says, okay, what can I create? What can I help make happen that is going to bring real value to the organization? And where are the resources that are needed? And how can I go get them? and then executes on it. So it doesn't matter whether you're a high school student, a college student, a retiree, academic, big company, small company, government, nonprofit, doesn't matter. You're an entrepreneur if you're there looking at how to add value to create something you're passionate about. Okay, I also happen to have a bunch of experience as a manager. I've been a CEO and a VP of New Biz Dev in startups and big and established companies. So I've been able to look at the problem from all sides. Okay, that's all the introduction we have to wade through for the time being. Let's get into a perfect pitch, what I mean by that. So if we were in person, I would make you actually stop and answer this question for me, but you're in luck because you're all muted right now. So I always ask, why do we pitch? And the typical answers I get are things like to get money, to raise our profile, to, to talk about our innovations, things like that. And I like to say it's sort of like real estate. Top 3 things in real estate are location, location, location. Top 3 things in pitching are get the next meeting, get the next meeting, get the next meeting. It is your only mission with that initial pitch. And it should really be your mission with every pitch you give along the way, because people invest in people who they know, like, and trust. They're not going to get to know, like, and trust you in the course of a 1-minute elevator pitch or a 10-minute initial pitch or whatever. But you can set the groundwork for here's somebody I want to take the time. I want to invest the time and energy to get to know, see if I like them and see if I trust them. Okay, so it's sort of like that very tired metaphor of dating. A first pitch is like a first date. So you are hoping to be the best version of yourself so that you win that next date with that person. And then if that date goes well, then the next one and the next one until you wind up being a couple, and then you get engaged, and then you finally get married. And the only difference between getting married to a spouse and getting invested in by an investor, or sealing a deal with a partner, or getting a big order from a customer, the only difference between those 2 situations is, in the one case, I think you should have just one spouse candidate there. When you're pitching for your business, I would like you to have a line of suitors out the back door of your house of worship or the government office, so that if somebody leaves you at the altar, you got the next candidate waiting in line. Okay, but get that next meeting because you want to build a relationship. And something I want you to keep in mind as well, this goes double, I think, for clean tech kinds of companies. And that is, while you're trying to impress them with what an awesome partner you are, keep an eye on how awesome of a partner they seem to be. Do they share your values? Do they give you useful advice? Do they hold you accountable? Are they interested in ownership that makes sense, right? You have to be reasonable yourself, but make sure they're being reasonable too. Sometimes it's easy especially when you really need money, it's easy to say, oh, these couple of things really bother me, but I'll just ignore them. We'll fix it later on or whatever. That's very, very risky behavior. Evaluate them, make sure that you know, like, and trust them before you sign on the dotted line. Okay, so there's a few parts to perfect pitch, and one is that, well, I'm a scientist by training, so I have several little subsets here, so just bear with me. But there are 3 parts to every great pitch, in my opinion. Number 1, always introduce yourself, right? You wouldn't walk into a cocktail party and just start telling some random person a story, right? You'd introduce yourself first. You'd hear a little bit about who they are. So introduce yourself, even if you've just been introduced to go on stage and do a pitch in front of 1,000 people, just as much as if you walk into a networking event and are introducing yourself. The reason is that even though people have just heard your name, and I hope it's on your first slide behind you on the big screen, it's still a way to shift the focus of the audience away from you as a presenter to you as interactive person, right? A pitch is much more a conversation than it is a presentation. And introducing yourself is your first step at getting away from being a presenter, okay? Number 3, make an ask. I can't tell you how many people I go up to and I say, okay, give me your 1-minute elevator pitch. And 3 minutes later, they are still talking about some technical or business aspect that I'm really not interested in, because I still don't understand, A, where they're going, and B, what they need. So make sure that you're keeping it concise and you get to an ask, something that the audience can actually do, that they have in their power to do, that they like to do preferably. So if you're talking to an investor, you're pitching to an angel, you're looking for $500,000, not $5 million, right? And vice versa. If you're talking to a venture capitalist, you're not there to ask for $50,000. They're not going to be interested. So make sure that you're focusing your ask on the particular audience you're talking to. Okay, in between these two bookends, tell me why I should care. I don't care what you do until I know why I should care about it. And not why you care about it, why I should care about it. Okay, this is central. And we will spend the rest of our time talking about this. Anyway, I kind of subdivide this tell me why I should care part into another 3 parts. First, I always try to capture the imagination by talking about the magnitude of the problem. Who has the problem? How big is it? Why do people care about it? Then I take all of that stuff, all those assertions that I've just made, and they captivate the imagination part, and validate it. Data, if I have it, third-party data preferably. If I have revenue, that's even better. And then motivate, get them excited about being that contributor, whether it's an investor of money or time or resources or reputation, okay? Now, I'm going to encourage you to use this philosophy to open every presentation, because that's what I did, right? I started off by introducing myself, even though Jeanette very nicely introduced me already, because I wanted you to know it's me talking to you, right? I tried to capture your imagination by telling you I'm going to try to make your dreams come true. I validated that by talking about the number of people I worked with and how much money they've gone on to raise, and that I have a tried and true method. And then I tried to motivate you to want to apply my process, my value, by offering you the opportunity to convert your value proposition into a compelling pitch. And if you apply my process, so that's my ask, you're going to have the best pitch you've ever had. Okay, so even if you're giving a technical presentation in a conference somewhere, or some kind of a presentation that's not necessarily a pitch, it doesn't hurt to open it in a way that lets you check in and make sure that you're engaging with the audience you think you're meeting. Okay, so finally we get to perfect pitch. Now, this is not about pitching perfectly. So I'm sorry, it's not the perfect pitch. I do not want you to waste your time trying for perfection. It takes too much time and energy, and things are changing too quickly to make it worthwhile. So instead, what I want you to do is to think about it more like music. And what do I mean by that? I want you to tune your words for the ears of your specific audience. And every audience is going to be a little bit different. The easiest way I know to think about it, to kind of get out of your own head, your own shoes, and into the head of your audience, and that is to understand that investors are basically very simple creatures. They make up their minds based on just 2 things, fear and greed. Now, if I'm going to be fair, we all make up our minds this way. It's just a matter of what we're fearful of and greedy for. But in a pitch, we don't have time to teach anyone anything. All we can do is get them so excited about what you're doing that they can't wait to learn more. So everything you say should either reduce fear or increase greed, or preferably both, or it doesn't belong in your pitch. In fact, this is a really handy technique to use when you've got to cut something down from a 5-minute pitch to a 1-minute pitch, for instance. Go through your script. You do write a script, right? So go through your script and read through every phrase and say, does this reduce fear or increase greed that I know this particular audience actually cares about? If not, get rid of it. And that will help you really get more concise, more focused, more accurate, tuned to the ears of that particular audience. Now, if you are like a lot of my clean tech clients, you may kind of be offended by this whole fear and greed thing. If you prefer, you can use terms like risk and benefit, or pain and pleasure, whatever it is that you can relate to. But I use fear and greed, first of all, because it's easy to remember. And second, because really these are the kind of primordial instincts. This is the way our lizard brain reacts instantly on hearing something new, right? We make snap decisions all the time. and our brains are reacting in a way, do I run away from the saber-toothed tiger, or do I go out and see whether that noise in the bush is actually a nice elk I can get for dinner, right? So what happens after you make that snap decision is the more developed part of the brain goes and rationalizes. Here's why this initial decision was correct. And the bias is always towards substantiating the initial knee-jerk reaction decision. So if you can help your audience to make the right decision first, that this is an exciting, non-scary opportunity, then everything else you say builds on top of that. Whereas if their initial reaction is, oh, this will never work, you're going to have to work hard to change their mind on it. Okay? So I hope that's clear. And like I said, if fear and greed bother you as being unnecessarily negative, it's fine. I get it. But find the words that work for you. The principle remains the same. You want to be focused on how can I get people more excited and less fearful about what we're doing. In the end, this will allow you to tell your story, tell it in your way, right? Because this has got to be authentic. I was just coaching a great lady this morning on her technology, and you know, the previous time I'd worked with her, one of my comments was, okay, so wasn't super professional. You were talking more like a housewife than like an entrepreneur. So this time she came back and had a complete amazing script with words like, God, what was she using? I can't remember, but she was using, you know, polysyllabic words that were not the words you would use in normal conversation. So it was very impressive and very, very professional, but it no longer sounded like her. So we have to work towards getting to a happy medium. It's got to sound like you. If it sounds like you've memorized it, but you don't really believe it, it's not going to help you gain the trust of your audience. But the big trick is to make it compelling to your audience. Which begs the question, who is your audience? So I have these 10 questions every pitch should answer, and then I cheat by putting in another one and calling it question 0. But my only justification here is you really must answer this question before you write any pitch. Get clear in your mind. And since I don't have much time today, let's see, where am I? I've got about 40 minutes left. I'm going to be very quick on this and basically say that, look, you can go out there to people who are to first order looking for a better return on investment financially. I hope for each of you that you get the chance someday to pitch to the general public, because that's what an IPO is, or if you get acquired, what a stock offering is. To funding agencies like IRAP and others that they're not looking to make a big return on investment financially, because that would be illegal, but rather they may be judged on, you know, did we spend our entire budget? Did we fund the correct technologies? Did we get solutions? Did we create lots of jobs? That's usually a really big one for any funding agency, especially government oriented. You know, did we get the right people reelected this next time? What is motivating this person who is holding your future in their hands? What guides the fear and greed of their decision-making process? And others you may not think of normally would be potential partners and collaborators. You're asking them to invest time or money or resources in working with you. So can they, you know, what can you do to help them believe that they're going to get enough value back for their time and effort that they put into any partnership or collaboration? Employers and employees, I'm just going to say that similar for right now. Don't forget yourself as your very first audience, but hopefully you're not having to pitch yourself right now. The real missing segment here in the middle, this foundational investor that I want you to always be considering, is customers. Because if you cannot convince enough people to put their hard-earned money and into your products and services, then you don't have a business, and none of these other investors matter in the slightest. Remember that the critical investment you're getting from each and every one of the people here is trust. They have to believe you're going to deliver on what you're promising. And that goes right from the very beginning when they are investing their 10 minutes of time to listen to you, if they're an investor, for instance. Okay. make sure that you think about who the audience is and that you tune that pitch. What is their fear and greed? You can make top level assumptions that for an investor, for instance, it's about making 10 to 15 times return on investment in 3 to 5 years or whatever their time frame is. And their fear is risk to their returns or their reputation and their time. Okay, but you know, if you are solving a particular problem such as water in developing countries, you know, clean water availability in developing countries, then perhaps you need to make sure that you're talking to somebody for whom that's a real greed, or they are connected to someone for whom it's a real fear not to get that problem solved. So you can fine tune it the more you know about that particular audience. Make sure you understand their fear and greed. Okay, so 10 questions, nice and simple questions I'll get to in just a moment. Understand that what you are doing is incredibly complex. There are huge companies with thousands of people in them trying to manage all the stuff that you and your partners are trying to deal with right now across many, many different dimensions. And all of these pieces come together and interact in ways you don't necessarily expect, and it changes over time. It's really tough, okay? But if you're going to pitch to somebody, you've got to keep it simple. They have neither the time nor the interest in really understanding what it is that you're trying to communicate. Your job is to get the next meeting, to get them to ask the questions about the complexities and the interactions of all these different pieces that you know are important, but they're not going to ask the question if you don't make a simple pitch that gets them excited. So the way my process works is that we know we've got all of these detailed things going on, interacting parts going on in your whole business plan. And in order to present, if you're fortunate enough to have the luxury of a 10-minute presentation, what my 10 questions do is extract that critical information out of that big, constantly changing morass of detail. And once you're done with the 10-minute version, and I promise you, I have done this 1,000 times. I promise you I can do it with you to do a pitch that's shorter than 10 minutes. Well, at 10 minutes, captures the whole value proposition, not just the technology, not just the business model, the whole shebang. Once you have your 10 solid answers to my 10 questions for the 10-minute presentation, we can then prepare for all the other kinds of pitches you need to do. For the kind of informal verbal elevator pitch, or your 3-minute cocktail party pitch, or whatever other kind of a one-on-one pitch that you get to do. And you can also extract a different set or a similar set to do the one-pager that I find investors more and more, they don't ask so much for your deck as they do for a one-pager that lays out the most critical information. So take advantage of the 10 questions to create a really killer one-pager. And then finally, your digital pitches. Your website is your most constant pitch. It's there 24/7. And so when somebody hears about you, unless you're just doing an app, and even then they'll just go to the app. But when you build your website, think about your answers to the 10 questions. I actually use my 10 questions to design my own website. Do not go to my current website, please. Well, okay, you can go there if you want to sign up for a 30-minute free consult. But don't look at the layout right now. I'm completely reworking it right now. But you can use this, answer 1 or 2 questions on each page of your website or each section of it. Don't forget to make an ask. Don't forget to introduce yourself. We just don't have time to go into that. But you can even apply these same principles for videos and social media. This is your way to make sure that your message stays focused and is doing the job you want it to do. Use communications in a strategic fashion, not just tactics. All right, so here they are, my 10 simple questions that every pitch should answer. And you should be receiving from Diane an opportunity to download a page that has these 10 questions on it, so don't worry about writing them down. They are very short and simple. Simple does not, unfortunately, mean easy, and I apologize for that. I wish I could make it easier. But each of these questions deals with a different aspect of your business, from the customer and market pain and market size, all the way down to your budget and ask, and stopping through your secret sauce, competitive advantage, intellectual property, traction, business model, financial projections, team, and development plan. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity, if you wish, to volunteer to do a 1-minute pitch for me, and I'll give feedback. I'd like to get a little bit further into the content before I do that. If we have no volunteers, I actually teach a 2-day workshop that covers all this material. So I obviously have more than enough stuff to keep talking until well past the time when I should be done. So no worries either way. Happy to coach somebody in real time, happy to keep going. So I will stop after I talk about question 1 and see if I've got any volunteers. Okay, so just for a heads up. Now, the question I always get is, well, how can I answer 10 questions in 3 minutes or 1 minute? You can't, clearly. You need 10 minutes to answer 10 questions. If you've got 5 to 7 minutes, then you can answer maybe 7. If you've got 1 minute, you can answer maybe 3 to 5, as many as 5. One other thing is, if you're in clean tech, I don't know if you've been interested in or heard about the Clean Tech Open Business Competition. The great competition provides wonderful mentors and so on. I bring it up here because for them, I have to add an 11th question, which is it sustainable? Now, if sustainability is a critical part of your value proposition, it probably fits in questions 1 and 2. Who cares? So people who care about the environment and what do you do will have something to do with how great this is. Let's see, my panel just popped up here. I just want to check and make sure I haven't missed anything important. Looks like I'm okay. All right, so the download that you have available to you is this one. So it lists the 10 questions, and then the way to read the rest of this chart is I've given you 2 possible audiences, and the first bullet in each row is about how you reduce fear, and the second bullet is about how you increase greed for each of these. Again, this is super generic, right? In fact, even down here, if you look down at questions 9 and 10, I'm like, okay, be ready for exit in 5 years. Well, if you're building major energy plants, you know, some new hybrid solar and wind plant of some sort, for instance, chances are you're going to be more at the 10 to 20 year kind of a time frame, right? So what I'm trying to do here is just capture the idea, the concept, the way I know that investors and customers, business customers, tend to think about things. You have to make this yours. You have to figure out what it means to your specific investor, customer, partner, person you want to hire, whoever it is. Okay, hope that all makes sense. Okay, I have at least 1 volunteer for pitching, so we will do that. I have just a few more minutes to go before we tick over to that. Okay, so actually I need some water here, folks. Oh, and there goes my first 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to give myself another 30 minutes and hope that's okay. Come on, phone, behave yourself. Okay, so question 1, who cares? So this is kind of a joke photograph I'm showing here, because if you're pitching to investors, I can pretty much guarantee you they're not going to be that young, and there's not going to be 2 women for every man in the room. Hopefully the current generation coming up is going to change all of that, but for now it's a joke. But what's not a joke is those folded arms, right? Remember that investors have promised their investors, their limited partners who have given them millions to tens of millions to even billions of dollars. These investors have been told that the venture capitalists are going to deliver a huge return on investment for the amount of money that's been put into their fund. And so it's scary. Now, I'm not asking you to feel sorry for them, obviously, but to understand that it is in their best interests to say no to you. They would rather say no, because once they say yes, that means, first of all, they are committing their money. So if the next Google walks into their office the next day, they don't have the money anymore. They've invested in you. So you better be as good as the next Google, right? Or plausibly have some chance of unicorn status. Second thing is that they are risking their reputation. So if they invest in a company that turns out to be the next Theranos, they are not going to look good. It's going to be much more difficult to get syndicate partners and new CEOs. And finally, their time. investors love their money. There is no question about that. It's their job. They should love their money. But believe it or not, they actually value their time as much as their money. And that means that they have already taken a risk on you by agreeing to meet with you for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. I encourage you very, very strongly, if you have the opportunity to pitch to an investor for an hour, you work on speaking for no more than 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes maximum, and that they talk for the remaining amount of time, 40 to 45 minutes. And you have somebody in the room to take notes on absolutely everything they say, record it if you can, because you want to get as much information from them as humanly possible. Okay, so in order to capture the imagination of these people who want to say no to you, you have to be focused first and foremost on who the customer is. What kind of pain are they in? And do they have the budget? Are they willing to, and are they already spending money to address the pain, even though they don't have a great solution yet? Okay, so how many customers are there? How much pain are they in? As in, how much money are they spending to deal with it? And then multiply those two together in order to get a bottom-up market analysis or market estimate. Okay, this kind of an approach to getting your addressable market size is so much more powerful than getting a big top-down market study from somebody. You know, there's lots of great market analysts out there, and everybody who works as a market analyst, in my experience, has been super smart. So there's lots of value to be gained from reading market analyst reports and using their market estimates, but it's only, I would only use it as a reality check versus the estimate that you've been able to do by doing it bottom up, from interviewing customers and making sure that you understand what their pain is, not what you want their pain to be, not that your technology should be the solution, but that you've interviewed the customers in a way that helps you to see that, yes, the pain that they actually perceive is the same as the one that I thought it was. And yes, my technology will fit in with the way they are willing to do business or willing to live their lives, whatever it is for consumers versus business. Okay. Super duper important to make sure that you have focused on this first, because I will tell you what, in all the time that I have been doing this, and people pay me thousands of dollars to actually develop a full pitch for them, including the deck and the script and all of that stuff. And what I've discovered over the years is if I'm having trouble with the pitch after the first few slides, I made a mistake on question one. So my recommendation to you is that you always come back to question one if you're struggling to get the pitch to really work, to really be the message you want to give, your story told your way. Come back and say, all right, do I understand specifically what the problem is I'm solving for which specific customer who is actually paying a reasonable amount for that product? And to really put tie a bow on it, make sure you know how the current solutions are failing. Because if you can express all of that in a couple of slides, then you have a nice segue into answering question number two, which is what you do in language that I can understand. Right? I hope that makes sense. So that is all I'm going to cover right now on question number one. There's lots more to talk about, of course, but we have a lot to get through and we have at least one volunteer. So let's see, Apostle Radev. So Diane, I don't know, should I be the one to unmute him, Apostle? And
it's going to have to be the host, which is either yourself or Astrid. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Astrid, are you there? Can you
yeah, I'm here. But I'm not sure. I believe that Linda is the host.
Okay.
So
I am
go ahead.
I should have stayed panelist where I wasn't so dangerous.
All right, just go ahead. You find him on the participant list and you can go ahead and unmute.
I'm looking at the chat, which is not at all the same thing as there we go, participants.
And then go to attendees and you'll see the Apostle there.
There we go. Allow to talk.
There you go.
And oops, Apostle.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
How are you doing?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect.
Okay.
And you said you wanted to share your screen. Do you have that ability to, or do I need to give you permission?
I would love to, but I don't want to make it too complicated for everyone. So if I can, great. If not, I'll just go ahead with the verbal pitch.
It's so embarrassing that I'm having this level of trouble here, but I should have now promoted you to panelist, so you should be able to share.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Thanks for that. Okay, so let's do, you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Hey, point taken.
Okay, so there it is. Look at that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, just let me know if you see the slide on your end, and then I'll be good to go.
Go for it.
Perfect. Okay. My name is Aposto Radev, CEO of Solar Steam. The problem that we are solving is the high cost and high emissions associated with process heat. We sell modular solar thermal systems, and our customers buy them to improve performance and to be more carbon and cost effective. Nova Chemicals has already contracted Solar Steam to develop a conceptual design for a 220 megawatt thermal plant, and our plan is to start with a $200 million demonstration pilot over the next 4 years. Other markets that have expressed interest include the SAGD industry, which spends $5 billion a year on steam and hot water generation, the pulp and paper processing sector that invests close to $2 billion a year in steam processing, and the BC healthcare industry, which would require $1.7 billion to upgrade just 10% of their thermal systems. We have a full capacity founders and advisory team, and we own our IP. We are looking to raise $430,000 in SAFE agreements over the next 6 months to advance our pilots. Thanks for Foresight for providing us with this platform, and thank you everyone for listening. My name is Aposto Radev, CEO of Solar Steam.
Holy free holies, that is exactly 1 minute.
Good.
And I'm really hoping that you got a glimpse at my 10 questions, because you answered almost all of them in just 1 minute.
Awesome. Yeah, I was taking screenshots and I see that it's being recorded, so that's great.
Now I'm just impressed because you covered so much of the stuff that I really care about. Okay.
Thank you.
So you're going to, of course, that means you've made my job much harder. So thank you for that. Okay. So like I said, it's a great amount of information, is a little bit fast, but then you're trying to squeeze a lot of stuff in here. One piece of advice I give to everybody is that it's better to get a few ideas across really clearly, rather than to get as much information out there as possible. And for me, what was confusing here was I don't know who your customer really is. Now, you gave me a laundry list of customers at the end, but I'm looking at this thing trying to understand, wait, what the heck is going on here? What's the problem? So what I would rather hear at the beginning, so give me your opening sentence again, please.
So my name is Aposto Radev, CEO and co-founder of Solar Steam. The problem that we are solving is the high cost and high emissions associated with process heat.
Okay, so instead of framing this as though you are answering a bunch of questions, even though I use the questions to kind of frame things, I would start off with something more like, so companies or industry wastes $50 billion a year on process heat. Space or water that they have heated and then just throw away.
Okay.
We provide a way to capture that energy and cut down heating bills by a factor of 25% in order to improve their bottom line while reducing CO2 emissions dramatically.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's the main idea there, is to try not to think about how can I use a framework to answer, to kind of set up a bunch of slides in my mind or a bunch of, or an outline in my mind, but rather how can I talk about this in a way that's very natural, the way I would normally have a conversation without it rambling, right? It's without any of the inefficiencies in a conversation. Let's see. So all right, so currently industry has not done code generation because it's been too expensive to retrofit. Our super duper shield here, whatever that actually is, or parabolic reflector, whatever, is retrofittable into virtually any production line, or I don't know what actually is true here.
That's true.
Retrofittable, or great, even better if you can design it in from the beginning. We've priced it so that we get a return on investment, not return on investment. I have no language today, but it pays for itself in 18 months and at the same time allows you to show to your community that you are a green neighbor, something like that.
Thank you, that's great.
Okay, well, you did a really great job. I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. Thanks for the feedback.
You bet.
Thank you, Apostle. It's Diane. Linda, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we've offered people for one more pitch.
Okay. Okay, great. So we have somebody else who wants to pitch?
Well, I'm not sure. We've asked, so if we
see.
don't get anyone, then you can just go right ahead.
I'll check in again after question number.
Okay, perfect. We do have one more coming up, just to let you know.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to zip through this next piece then. Okay.
Okay.
So this is question number 2, where for some reason my heading is missing. That's really weird. What do you do in language that I can understand? This is another joke picture because you'll never see this combination of physics and math and chemistry all on the same slide. But this actually used to be what the slide decks I would normally get from technical founders, this level of information density. And today we've kind of gone to the opposite direction, where I see a picture of a sunset or a blue sky or a nice waterfall or something, which tells me absolutely zippity doo-dah about the secret sauce. You gotta be able to talk about your secret sauce. Why should I believe you that you've got some great new innovation? Why should I be excited about your solution if I don't see any evidence of what's different about it? How can your competitive analysis make any sense to me, right? Okay, so make sure, this is why when you set up your answer to question number 1, putting in there why the current solutions are failing is such a nice segue here, because you can talk about what it is that you're doing. Now, a pushback I often get on this is, but I can't tell them about my proprietary information, and you're absolutely right. Don't give away your proprietary information, but you must learn to talk about that secret sauce in a way that doesn't reveal it. And the easiest way I know to do that is to think about it in terms of what your technology does to solve the problem rather than how it works. Usually the proprietary part is how it works. In fact, I coached somebody else today, and she had she has a really cool needle for a specific application, and all we talked about multiple electrodes she has that is unique in the industry, but we gave away nothing about spacing, size, materials, all of that stuff. But what's critical is that she was able to add an additional 4 electrodes to a particular needle. So that's what you need to be able to do. Talk about what matters to the audience so that they get interested enough that eventually they sign a non-disclosure and you can get into the proprietary information. I guess I'll leave it at that so I have time to do the pitch. So one thing I do want to say here is, for those of you who are technical founders and think that pitching is an annoying waste of your time, I'm going to encourage you to reframe that in your mind. When you go to a conference and you're sharing information, or you're teaching at a school or whatever, where the content on your slide is the most important thing, that's great. You should have that kind of a presentation available. A pitch is a great way to engage people, to get them interested enough that they're willing to commit the time and energy to understand that technical presentation. So I like to think of them as 2 different tools. A pitch is like a wrench, a technical presentation is like a screwdriver. Awesome tools, you need both of them in your toolbox. Great at doing their own job, not very good at doing each other's job. Except you can open a technical presentation with a pitch, and you can have a technical presentation as backup to a pitch. But just in general, think of them as different tools that are equally deserving your respect in order to get the job done. Okay, now I will say, I'm happy to do this next pitch coaching. I will say that question number 3 is questions 1, 2, and 3 are the most important ones to answer. So I either have time to do question 3 or to do this pitch session here. I'm going to go with the assumption we're doing the coaching, so I'm busy arguing with my little drop down thing here. And who is the next person who wants
So the next person is Susan Blanchette. Hope I pronounced that right, from Origin Air. So if you just go up to the attendees, you can search for Susan. There she is.
Hi there.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Yourself?
Fabulous. How can I help?
I would love to be able to share the screen. I've just got, I have a 60-second video that is a pitch that I'd love your feedback on.
Okay, I've promoted you to panelist.
Perfect.
Oh, I have to stop sharing. Sorry.
That's okay.
How do we share?
I've never shared a screen before, so this is good for me for future, but I don't see the share spot.
Depending on your software, Susan, it should be at the, if you just move your mouse down to the bottom, there'll be a little share button that comes up.
I just have chat, raise hand, and Q&A still.
Yes, that was a problem I had. There's also there's a join audio, share screen, and invite others that are also icons on a big white screen. Do you see that with the participants off to the right?
Yep.
Yes. I don't see this. I can just read it if that's easier.
If you can't find it, then that's probably a good idea.
Okay.
But if it's a video, I'm not sure. Well, let's just go ahead and listen to it.
Okay. I will do the listen. Here we go. So right now, sorry, just a second. It's not working. Technical difficulties, not good for a pitch.
All right. Why don't I'll tell you what.
I have a script. I'm gonna just read it as our pitch then.
How about if we do this? I will work with you after we're done with the main part of the webinar. I'll go through question 3, come to an end with the webinar, but I'll stay online and you and I can work together on that. Is that okay?
That would be perfect. Thank you.
You betcha. Okay, so let me just get back to sharing my screen now that I've gotten to be such a pro at it. Okay, so moving on. Question number 3, why will you win? And that is all about your competitive advantage. Advantage, not landscape, okay? We'll talk more about that in a moment. So the difference, so most of the time when people talk about their competitive advantage, they list a bunch of features. I don't care about your features. If I'm your customer, I care about the benefits that you're bringing to me. Difference between benefits and features is if you walk into a dark room and you flip the light switch, do you care if the light comes on or what the mechanism is behind the switch plate? If you care, if you care more about the, obviously your customers don't really care if you sprinkle fairy dust on their problem, just so long as the problem freaking goes away. So what you want to focus on is their, is the benefits that you're bringing to them. What are the lights you are turning on? No more than 4 or 5 lights, okay? And I want you to focus on doing the benefits in just a few words across the top. That's because, at least in the Western world, our eyes move most easily from left to right. So it's easier to tell a story from left to right. In addition, that lets us put the competition in the first column, and that means we can put you at the top of a list. So subconsciously, you're number 1. I also want you to frame the benefits in such a way that you can put a check and an X or a plus and a minus or whatever your favorite icons are. I don't care. But what I don't want in these cells is words, numbers, or Lord help me, ranges of numbers. Remember, you got to be kind to your audience. Chances are they listen to 900 pitches a week, right? They have had it with pitches. And so if you show them something for 40 seconds that's overloaded with information, they're just going to tune out and start texting somebody. Give them a visual that is quick and easy for them to absorb. Now, you may be sick and tired of the matrix. Everybody does the matrix, but and it's fine with me. If you can come up with a better way to show your competitive advantage than the matrix, great, go ahead and do it. But I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to follow my advice in all respects here in terms of how you frame the benefits in order to do these checks and X's, because it'll make it much, much easier for you to frame your competitive advantage and to tell a story rather than to do what I lovingly call apoptosis, which means cell death to any biologist, which is, so for benefit number 1, we're better than the rest because of this, and this business as usual case fails for this, and then they go cell by cell by cell until your audience wants to kill themselves. So don't do that. Oh, I left out an important part here, which is that your competitive analysis should include most definitely, what is it that people are doing today? So if you have a new electricity generation technology for grid scale generation, then business as usual bloody well better include the fossil fuel powered plants that are typical on the grid. right? You might have a direct existing competitor of solar cells or wind farms or something like that. You may have indirect competitors that are, I don't know, thermoelectric or turbine, micro turbine or something else. And then there may be some startups that are doing something similar to what you are that people have heard about. So you want to be sure and address them. They may, and these could be direct or indirect. Okay, so this is not really 4 distinct kinds of companies. You can be direct or indirect, you can be business as usual, and you can be emerging. Okay. When it comes to, oh, yes. So the other, so one of the pieces of pushback I usually get on this, well, is it really fair to have all checks for us and X's for almost everything down here? And you know, one good thing is that you can have some checks in here. It's not as much strong as it used to be, where it had to be all X's and just checks for you. The other is that this is not your competitive landscape. Have that in backup, have every possible detail, stick to features if you want, I don't care. But when you're pitching, you're showing your niche, the part that you've decided to attack first and foremost because you have the strongest advantage there. And if you cannot find 4 or 5 benefits for which you are going to kick the butt of your competition, my question to you is, why do you think you're going to win? Okay, because it's going to be a real uphill struggle. So we're just highlighting the advantages here. Never insult your competition. So the way I would pitch this by telling a story would be to come in and say, okay, so there are a number of competitors in this space, including this big name business as usual company and this other one as well. We have a couple of indirect competitors, and these 3 startups have gotten a lot of traction lately. But we have talked to about 200 potential customers, and what's become very clear is that none of these companies, even though they've got a great product, they're not delivering on this combination of benefit 1, 2, 3, and 4 that is desperately needed. Now, we do have competition in benefit number 3 from a couple of competitors. Benefit number 2, we've got a different company is competing with us, but for that combination of 4 benefits, we are the only game in town. Okay, so you see how that's more of a story you can tell about the niche that you're attacking, as opposed to saying that, you know, everybody's good at this thing. Whenever I see a list that's all checks, or God help us all X's here, or even worse, you're an X and they're all checks, how is that helping you get the next meeting? Never lie, never mislead. This is not a trust issue. This is about framing, here is the market segment we are pursuing. Okay, this is so, so important. Answer questions 1, 2, and 3 as well as you possibly can in order to get where you need to be. And I am just going to skip through all of my other slides here. Sorry to do this to you guys. Oh, my business model. Oh, well. Let's see. Let me just end it up with, I always put my plan of action at the end, your development plan. I use a Gantt chart that goes up from left to right because investors like things that go up from left to right. I always save my ask for the last thing that I'm doing, and you'll notice here that each of these bullets is a value-added milestone. Something has happened here that has made my business inherently either more valuable or less risky or both. And then all you have to do is add in the amount of money you need to raise in order to achieve each set of these over this time frame, and you've got your perfect end to your pitch. Well, careful about that perfection thing. Okay, and you can also shorten the time frame if you want to talk about a partnership or a project or something like that. Okay, take advantage of my 10 questions, please. Be very disciplined, be brutally honest with yourself. Like I said, my website's kind of a mess right now, but you can try the Pitch-O-Matic and get access to 2-3-minute videos on the 10 questions. And you can also do a 30-minute consult with me or sign up for a 15-minute conversation about what I can bring to your program. Okay, oh, wait. Pitch the company you want to build, not the one you think somebody else wants to hear about, okay? Because if you don't pitch what you want, then you're not going to get people to fund it. You're going to get them to fund their vision, not yours. Okay, remember, life's a pitch. Make yours amazing. And lots of luck and much success to all of you.
Well, thank you very much, Linda. I feel like not everybody can hear, but I'll clap.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it on behalf of Foresight. It's Diane. Just wanted to thank you so much for this presentation and your patience at the beginning with the some of the technical issues. It's been.
You mean the ones that were my fault?
It was just wonderful to have you here, and the content was great. And I think you said you were going to stick around for Susan to come on. So I'll just mention that. And really, it was fantastic content, and your website is there. Plano and Simple.
Plano and Simple, yes.
Plano, okay.
If you're Italian, it's Plano.
Okay, planoandsimple.com. So we, encourage you guys to go check it out. Thank you again so much. I'll sort of wrap up the official Foresight side of things, and allow you to just go on. With,
if you like, actually, Susan, you and I you can go to this. Sorry, oops. Susan, if you want, you can just go to this link and sign up for the 15 minutes, and it'll be on GoToMeeting, which I know how to get you online to be able to share your screen, no problem. So why don't we just do that so that...
yeah, I think that would make sense, because that way we can wrap up the recording. So
exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much again on behalf of Foresight, and thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks for the invitation. Thanks, everybody. Not happy about that.
Thank you so much for everything, Linda. I think we can close the session now.
Yeah, sorry, I was just realizing, how did they shut this down yet? And I realized,
I think you're still the host. I was trying to do so, but I couldn't.
Yes, next time I think you can just make me a panelist, and I should.
Yeah, I think that it will be better like that.
All right, great. Thanks so much.
Thank
really
you. Take care.
Bye-bye.